Hello, everyone. Welcome. I'm Patrick Thiele. I'm Chief Revenue Officer with Nurse Recruitment Experts, and we are a boutique nurse recruitment RPO offering targeted nurse sourcing strategies, strategic marketing, and pre-qualified nurse candidates. So if you're curious to know more about that, send me a message on LinkedIn or reach out to us, and we can tell you more about that. So we're here today to talk about 2024. It's almost October, if you can believe it. And we thought it was timely to start thinking about nurse sourcing strategies for the next year. So to do that today, we're going to explore the favored talent acquisition approaches taken by a couple of leaders from McLaren Healthcare. McLaren is a 13-hospital system based in Michigan. So we have joining us today Jennifer DiSanza, the Talent Acquisition Director with McLaren, and Cynthia Johnson, a Recruitment Manager. Welcome, Cynthia and Jennifer.
Thank you, Patrick.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, thanks so much for joining us. We're excited to get your wisdom, your ideas, and your plans for 2024. So let's jump into some questions, and let's start with your advice to aspiring TA and HR professionals in healthcare. What advice would you give them for their careers to get ahead?
Jen, do you want to take off with that one?
Sure. So Cynthia and I followed probably a very similar path, both of us, to reaching our leadership roles. So our answers are going to be incredibly similar on this. So for both Cynthia and I know to reach our leadership roles, we were just the loudest people in the room. So that would be my advice to you is if you want to be a leader, you need to make yourself known within your organization. You need to speak up in meetings if that's something that makes you nervous. I used to be very afraid to speak up in meetings. I have that fear no longer. I have no problem speaking, but practice it. Come to meetings prepared ahead of time. Know the agenda, kind of develop your thoughts. You want people to know you, know your point of view, know your voice. Also, I know that it can be hard to find the time, but volunteer for extra projects. So I was always looking to step up and do things outside of the scope of my role. So I'm now in my role as Director of Talent Acquisition at McLaren. Previously, I was a senior recruiter. I was in a senior recruiter role with the organization for about 4.5 years, and I just constantly took on extra projects. So once the role of director opened up, pretty much the whole organization knew my name because I'd had a hand in so many different things. Cynthia was the same way. So Cynthia was also a senior recruiter, and Cynthia, I'll let you tell your own story. But when the manager role opened up on my team, it was a very obvious choice for me to bring Cynthia onto the team because I'd always heard her. I'd always seen her name. I knew her work. So she was a leader before officially getting the title. And I think that if you're looking to go from individual contributor to a leadership role, that's what you need to demonstrate. The first time someone takes that risk of giving you the opportunity, they need to have that confidence of the work you've already demonstrated. I'm taking a risk here and bringing in a new leader, but I've seen what they can do. They're already kind of a leader. They just need the title. And that's what Cynthia, if I can give you the kudos, that's what Cynthia was doing and how she ended up as the manager on my team. So Cynthia, I know I'll let you kind of chime in. You had a lot of other great insights on achieving a leadership role in HR.
Yeah, and to kind of piggyback off of that, when you speak to taking on extra projects and doing things outside of your scope of work, it's also important to have the greater good of the organization in mind. So when we're speaking to representing an organization that has 13 hospitals, we have other subsidiaries that are not hospitals as well, but we each worked for a separate subsidiary of McLaren prior to coming onto this team and representing the organization overall for nurse recruitment. And in our roles we had prior, we had our jobs at our specific subsidiaries, but every time we got into those meetings and we were the loudest person in the room, it was with the greater good of the organization in mind. Mm-hmm. So, it is really important to showcase that, and that kind of speaks volumes when you want to be recognized for opportunities of promotion and growth.
Well, that's all really great advice. Thank you for sharing all that. Hopefully that's helpful to people. Now, and here you are, you're become the loudest people in the room maybe, and you're on doing a webinar with us. I love it. That's great. So in your role as director and recruitment manager, what are some specific things that come to mind that are working for you now in terms of recruitment strategies?
Sure. Yeah. I'll let you take this one to start then, Cynthia.
Sure. I think that there's quite a few things here that we use as strategies on our team, but developing that I for value proposition is one of the most important pieces, I think, to marketing your positions. All of our recruiters work really hard to develop that unique and compelling employee value proposition for each of those opportunities that they have available. Not only to make McLaren stand out as the employer of choice, but each of our subsidiaries and hospitals has unique benefits and opportunities available, and they work really hard to sell that to candidates and make those opportunities in that market they serve known. So I think that that's huge in strategy for not only getting those applicants to apply, but also securing them through the interviewing process, through the offer process, and then bringing them through the doors on their first day.
Yeah, it has to be something of interest to people, but also something unique that's going to grab their attention and keep their attention. Oh, that's great.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. We also, when in developing our team, we have speed at utmost, top of mind at all times. When Jen and I did create the process flows for our team, we wanted to do so in a way to ensure that candidates have contact with a recruiter as fast as possible. So our goal is to reach out to candidates within one business day of their application. The process that we've kind of outlined and put in place sometimes allows those candidates to even get that touch from us even sooner. So awesome. Timelines sometimes from application to phone screen to interview to offer could be all within the same day with the process flows we put in place.
Wow, I love hearing that. That's great.
Yeah. It's a very competitive market, and the faster you get a candidate interested, it decreases that chance of them applying to other positions. So speed is the name of the game on our team.
Fantastic. Great. So what do you think is going to become more important in 2024 as you think about the strategies that are working now and the challenges you're facing? What's going to be on top of mind for 2024?
So I think something that Cynthia and I have really been focusing in on is on the other side of recruitment is retention. So our team has really developed, as Cynthia spoke to, an incredibly tight process and timeline, getting our candidates through the process and in the door. But then on the other end, if our leaders can't keep the hires, we're just spinning our wheels. It's like putting water in a bucket with holes. So those two things go hand in hand. So we're really looking to get down to the leadership level at our hospitals and talk about retention. What are the dynamics of your unit? What are your challenges? Why are you losing people? And on the other side of that, we're really looking to develop our nursing leaders. We do have we've had a couple of cases where a candidate has said, I want to work for your hospital because I want to report to XYZ individual. So when people, probably any recruiter has heard the phrase that individuals don't leave companies, they don't leave jobs, they leave their leader. It's all about that culture and your leader. So to ensure the success of our recruitment and retention, we're really going to be looking in on the professional development of our nursing leaders to create a strong, supportive culture for those nurses that they feel from the very get-go when they speak to that leader, they want to work with the leader, and then they come in the door and they feel successful and supported.
Well, that's great. And those leaders need support and education, right? In order to be supportive and strong leaders. That's great. That's good advice. Awesome. And on the note of retention, that is a key issue. And we just a week ago released our nurse retention report 2023. So I'm going to put that in the chat, and people can check that out as well. It's on our blog. So go to our blog and you can find our nurse retention report 2023. Okay, awesome. It's there on the screen. Next question, what emerging technologies are you keeping an eye on these days and thinking about maybe implementing down the road?
Jen, I'll let you take away with that one. You had really good points you spoke about prior to this.
Yeah, and it was a conversation that we were actually having with our VP the other day. So for me, I think any TA leader is, we get a lot of advertisements. We get a lot of outreach from other companies trying to sell us products. And I do get a lot of outreach from AI companies in recruitment. So that's something that I've had my eye on. But I do have a very strong feeling that when it comes to nurse recruitment, I don't think that AI really quite has the place that it would in the more higher volume type of recruitment. With us, with nursing, we don't want anything ruling out a nurse candidate. If you're viable, we want you. We're going to talk to you. So we've got our eye on AI, but we don't think it really has its place in nurse recruitment. Another technology that, this is going to probably date me, but it's going to be Chat GPT, where I'm like, what are you? Why are you? What is this? But trying to, obviously, it's impacting all industries. And something that we're looking at is using it to help us write our employer value proposition. Help us craft the language, help us with that aspect, because a lot of the times in TA, yes, we do have the support of marketing, but Cynthia and I, we kind of have to be marketing, IT, finance. We have to be everything at once. So any help that we can get from technology, we're going to take. So we're looking at, okay, can we use Chat GPT to help us write job descriptions or in value propositions? How can we leverage technology to make our jobs a little bit easier on that front?
Well, I know when I've used it, when I've thrown something in to see what I can come up with, I'm always shocked at, like, why didn't I think of that? Like, these are some interesting concepts that come out of there. So why not see what can be offered? Great.
Yeah, and kind of piggybacking off of that a little bit, going back to the last question, using the AI as well for something that we want to focus a little bit more on and focus on now, but continue to do in 2024 is that candidate experience, potentially using AI to make things easier for candidate applications. We want to provide that white glove treatment application to walking through the door. So using those technologies to make it easier on our end, but the candidate end as well, is something that we're keeping our eye on.
Oh, that's great. And and you already talked about the speed, and that obviously ties into candidate experience. They want to see things move forward quickly. We see that from our applicants. They really are attracted to the value proposition of things moving quickly and efficiently. So interesting. Great.
Yeah.
Thank you.
And Patrick, one more thing I wanted to just drop in there before we move on. In case any recruiters are not using it, I would hope they are, but texting seems like a silly thing to throw out there. But if you are not already texting candidates, you got to start doing it. I know a lot of my recruiters who have been in the industry for a long time, when I said you have to text, they were very resistant to it.
Yeah.
But we see the most phenomenal turnaround time to reach candidates, especially nurses, because nurses, if you think, most nurses have a job right now. So they're not just sitting around waiting for their cell phone to ring or checking their email.
They're not checking their email.
They're not checking their email, but they have their cell phone in a locker. They can look at it in, breaks on their shifts. And if they get a text message, how quick is it for them to just fire back? And we use a lot of also automatic schedule, like, what is our platform? Once Hub, Cynthia? Yeah, self-scheduling. And that's something that we use a lot of. So we like to use technology, not to remove the human element, but to assist the humans moving the process along, to free up their time so that they can engage.
And that increases the candidate experience as well, if they're feeling reached out to. That's great. Okay, awesome. Those are really good suggestions for folks. So again, thinking about 2024, what are some workforce challenges that you're seeing and you think are going to be growing and on your plate for the next year? And what are you doing now to prepare for that? Who would like to take that one?
Go ahead, Jen.
Thanks, Cynthia. So, we all know that there's a shortage of nurses. So that's the very obvious answer is surprise. That's going to continue next year. It's not going away. But the other continuing challenges, not only is there a shortage of nurses, but there are a shortage of clinical educators to train the next generation of nurses. So the issue is compounding upon itself. So something that we're looking at McLaren is, first of all, making sure that we have a very strong pipeline and relationship with every single school within our region. We know, again, there's a shortage of nurses. Any brand new nurse coming out, we want them. They're ours. But the other thing we're looking at is how can we engage our current clinical leaders to possibly look at instructor roles at the local community colleges. So our school can, our institution can partner with those educational institutions to support their program so they can take more students. But in turn, we've built that relationship and become the employer of choice. So that's what we're looking at. There's a school right down the road from us on Monday. I'll be going there, launching a new program, having a signing, a big ceremony where I'm going to be talking to them about, hey, do you need some educators? We have some great folks at our hospital down the road who might be able to join your staff on a part-time basis.
And you're right, those relationships they're building in the nursing school and the education phase they're strong to continue forward and build loyalty among the students. So that's a great place to start. Great, thank you. Other strategies or challenges and things you're doing to prepare for those for next year?
So everything is going to be a challenge.
Yep.
I mean, we're marching uphill here.
Yeah.
I think one of the other biggest challenges that I'm really looking at, and this is not something that we're even going to solve next year, but would be what I consider the childcare crisis. Within healthcare, our nurses work second and third shift. We did see that during COVID, a disproportionate number of women were the ones who left the workforce and have unfortunately not completely returned to it. And in the healthcare sectors, particularly nursing, it is predominantly women. So what we've seen is compounded with the lack of nurses, now the lack of childcare, it just all snowballs. So McLaren is also participating in some local initiatives with local ordinances and local government to understand the challenges of why can't we open a daycare here? And going all the way up to the state level, I'm on a committee to see, can we remove some of those barriers? And can we even explore potentially opening our own daycare centers on site? What would the risk of that be? Is that something that we can do at our facilities? Because we're never going to be able to staff these second and third shifts if we don't have the childcare structure in place for the nurses. So will I solve that in 2024? If I do, I will tell everyone. I probably won't, but baby steps, and that is something that we're looking at because I think that that's a huge issue for our workforce right now.
This is a good example of while you're dealing with the day-to-day issues and day-to-day challenges and thinking ahead weeks and months and maybe next year, but this is a bigger project, but it's also important, right, for everyone on the team to contribute ideas and flow those up to the leadership for longer-term planning. That's a great example. Awesome. Cynthia, did you have anything you wanted to add to that?
I think you covered it pretty well, Jen.
Perfect.
We're always continuing to try to, advance and perfect little pieces of our processes, reviewing job descriptions, taking a look at the market. We represent McLaren Healthcare, which is all over the state of Michigan, a little bit outside of that. So, the markets in each of those areas is a little bit different too. So kind of pinpointing, where are we strong? Where do we need to put a little bit more work into as far as competitive wages, competitive, those perks, the childcare benefits, and those other things as well. What can we do to be the employer of choice in those areas? So, there's lots of things that we're looking at and trying to continue to perfect. Everything is a challenge in recruitment with healthcare, but I think, Jen, you covered the two biggest ones that we have been looking at.
Well, those are great examples. So in that case, then I want to move to the last question, and this is our favorite question. And I'd love it if both of you have input on this one, but share with us your biggest nurse recruitment secret. What do you have to share?
I mean, for this question for me was probably one of the easiest ones to answer. And I don't know if it's typically the answer you receive, but when Jen and I created this team, it was important for us to have individuals that we brought on that were smarter than us in some areas. In not everybody can be perfect at everything and every topic in every area. So our secret to having a successful nurse recruitment team is having recruiters that are passionate about their work in the company that they represent, and building that team that focuses on collaboration with each other when needed and not competing against each other. There's no one person that's really going to be great at everything, like I said. So our biggest secret from my perspective was finding people that could represent McLaren, my team, who are experts at different things, put them all on the same team and work together with that one McLaren approach.
And we had the same answer on that. We really
That's
did.
awesome. I love
It's
that.
about
Thanks for
having
that.
the
That's secret.
right team and the right process, as well as the right
Mhm.
process. So the team we built were recruiters that were already at other McLaren subsidiaries. So they were already established, successful recruiters. We were incredibly lucky to have them join our team, but it's taking the right people and the right process and marrying that together.
Mhm.
So our process, as Cynthia mentioned, it is based on speed, but it's based on high levels of communication, candidate to recruiter to hiring manager to HR staff. We over communicate. We are incredibly detailed, and we have so many SOPs and process flows, but that's because we run a very tight ship. So nothing will ever slip through the cracks. So it's about having a thorough documented process and a passionate, intelligent team. And to anyone who wants to be a leader, always hire people who are smarter than you. It makes you look good, but it also helps for the success of the team. Cynthia is my manager because she's smarter than me in a lot of areas. And I'm fine saying that. And she helps lift the team up. But like Cynthia said, we have some recruiters who are far smarter than both of us in other areas.
We both call many individuals of our team on a regular basis that have been with McLaren longer than we have, or been in recruitment longer than we have, to get, their expertise in some topics in some areas as well. So, we share the passion across our entire team, and each and every person on our team, we work really hard to make them feel valued, important, because they are important. Without them, would be missing, very important pieces of information that Jen and I just don't already have. So, yeah.
Wow. That's great. That's fantastic advice. And it sure sounds like your team is lucky to have you both as leaders. So that's wonderful. And so thanks so much, both of you, for your time today. We appreciate you doing some preparation to think about this and take the time to do the call. And this podcast will be on our podcast channel, Nurse Recruitment Secrets. So you can find it on Spotify, Apple, Google Podcasts, and other podcasts as well. So I encourage people to listen into our podcast series as well about nurse recruitment secrets. So thanks very much for sharing all of your tips and advice and your nurse recruitment secrets. Much appreciated, both. Hope you have a great weekend, everyone.
Thank you.
Have a great weekend.
Bye-bye.